IEBC for the future, who cannot in any conceivably be influenced or derailed by what happened in the past, particularly in Chicken Gate. IEBC has many issues to deal with. The issues that you hear about in presidential election petitions. And those are the issues that IEBC should address its mind to.
What should they deal with?
What should they deal with?
The new commission. Number one, the new commission must understand where it is coming from. From 2012, from the first commissioners under IEBC came into being in 2011. Between that time and now, only 2 commissioners out of about 18 commissioners who have been recruited finished their 6-year term. If you count the number of commissioners that IEBC has had from around 2011 up to the date, there are around 18. Only 2 did 6 years. The Constitution says commissioners are employed for a period of 6 years.
6 years, non-renewable term, yeah.
Only 2 have finished. All those others have had their tenures terminated prematurely. All right? The reasons are either internal or external. So one, we have to find out, why is that happening? Why is that there's such a rapid turnover? Why is that instability in IEBC? Number one. But the instability in the tenure of IEBC's chairpersons is also reflected in the instability at the level of CEO and senior staff. Just like the rollout commissioners, unceremoniously, either they resign or whatever, is the same thing they do with senior staff. From the first CEO of IEBC was James Oswago. James Oswago did 3 years, 6 months.
Yes.
James Oswago was followed by another lady, brilliant lady, good lawyer. And she was there for 1 year, 5 months, 6 months. Then they brought another one, Chiloba. He was there 3 years, 2 months or 3 years. Then they brought this other one. A CEO is supposed to last 10 years. If IEBC commissioners were going through their full term, today they would be having their second CEO. Instead, I think they're on the 4th one or the 5th one. But the 4th one is a bit strange because the 4th one was in an acting capacity for 3 years before he was confirmed in 2021, just before the election.
Okay.
Right? So you find in IEBC an unacceptable instability and disruption by the turnover of the CEOs.
Okay, I want to stick.
So you are bringing these fellows in. You are bringing these fellows in. These fellows must be aware, whoever was recruiting them, must have considered the fact that we are sending these people in this environment which is historically unstable. So what kind of characters do we want to go there? Point one. Point number two, where is the cause of this disruption? Is this internal or external?
Major, you talked about the fact that there could be internal or external, maybe going to the extent of sabotage when it comes to what one of the employees of the commission must do. If we're saying work for 10 years as a CEO, if you have disruptions that come in place every 3 or so years on average, what effect do we see that this has on the overall work of the commission and the country as a whole? And what, who externally or internally would have any business or interest in destabilizing the work that would happen or would be done?
Yeah. I'll go to the issue. First of all, I've given you the history, and it's factual. You can't have that high turnover, and there are about 10 constitutional commissions, so there are less, 10 constitutional commissions and about 3 independent offices. None of them experiences the kind of tumults that you find in IEBC, particularly at the level of commissioners and at the level of and at the level of CEO and deputy CEO. There must be a reason. There must be a reason why, when a new cohort of IEBC commissioners are recruited, you can more or less predict this will last 2 years. Because on average, none of them has lasted. And the first chairman lasted 5 years. Chebukati finished his term. But like I told you, all the other commissioners, none of them has finished the 6 years. It ranges from 3, and sometimes it's ridiculous. Roslyn Akombe was employed and Roslyn Akombe could arguably be one of the brightest commissioners that IEBC has ever had. If you read some of the things that she writes.
And yet didn't finish.
And yet Roslyn Akombe came in January, and October she was gone.
Why do we see this high turnover? What's the problem?
You need to first do a bit of research, and you don't go far. When Roslyn Akombe resigned, she wrote a 100-page letter, not page, a document. She wrote a letter, then wrote a document, 100 pages. Those 100 pages tells you the way the commission was by 2018. And it is a very sad reading, including to the extent that commissioners will go to a meeting and you take a particular position. When you leave the door, you get a call from some powerful office in the land telling you, why were you talking like that? This is a commission meeting. This is Roslyn Akombe saying, you are in a commission meeting and you take a particular position on a particular issue. When you leave the door, you get a telephone call from some very powerful people. She does not mention them, but we know them. In the last Serikali Yongine, who would call? And they were in parliament, those powerful fellows. They would call, why are you talking such stupid thing in the commission meeting? So what do commissioners do? Commissioners therefore go to those meetings already knowing what to say because you got instruction from outside.
Okay.
All right? It's no longer commission.
So is it not independent?
Akombe even says, it went so bad that commissioners would not take tea in commission meetings for fear of being poisoned. This it's not James Oswago creating. This is what Roslyn Akombe herself said in a document which you in the media never even looked at.
So, James, if we look at the disruptions that happened in IEBC during your time, the influence and the troubles bedeviling IEBC during your time, were they internal or external, if you care to share?
All problems that IEBC has, not only in my time, but also thereafter, they are external. That is the origin, that is the source. But those external sources will not walk in anniversary towers and say, we have now arrived. They'll go through some
proxy
somewhere, either through a commission or senior staff. But whatever the intention is not to build, is to disrupt. And to disrupt to serve personal interests of those people outside. So, and those people outside are powerful potentates in their own positions. All right? So it is not just the commission where I was in. It is the commission that followed thereafter. I've told you that James Oswago served 3 years, 6 months.
Yes.
The one who followed him served 3 years. No, the one who followed him served 1 year something. The lady who followed me was deputy CEO. And she had been deputy CEO for 2 years, right? Then I leave, and she becomes acting CEO. Then she's told to act for 1 year and a half, then she's sacked. I mean, why did you employ her if she was not that good? Then you employ the one you want. The one you want hardly survived 3 years. Then you throw that one out. Then you bring another one. And this other one is kept and it's important to listen to this. The one which now survived about 4 years stayed 3 years in an acting capacity. Who stays 3 years in an acting capacity?
Well, it has practice along many sectors where that actually does happen.
But what does it mean? You can't confirm yourself.
No.
Why was the commission unable to confirm a CEO that they themselves have given an acting capacity? Why?
So with the election cycle in this country, the electioneering process in this country seems as though we have a lot of problems coming from outside affecting the credibility and the moral standing that is the commission, which one asks, as we approach 2027, the commission, you say, has a lot of work to do. But what guarantees do we have that the commissioners who will be in place will not be there with a direct order to achieve certain things in the commission? How do Kenyans trust IEBC?
Because Kenyans look in the wrong place. You see, institutions don't defend themselves. You see, the judiciary cannot defend itself. IEBC as a constitutional commission cannot defend itself. IEBC requires you to speak for it. And for you to speak for IEBC, we must be careful. What is it that ails IEBC? For as we see it from outside, we interrogate it and we say the origin of this is from this source.
Is the commission independent? The first word of this commission is independent. The independent. That means that it is able to operate void. It should be able to operate void of this external influence that you talk about, these external disruptions that we hear all the time. But if we look at the last decade of practice, the last 15 years of practice, it would appear as though the element of independent is the one thing that doesn't exist for the commission. Also based by your own admission of things that you've said, Rose Nakombe's dossier that she brought out, years ago. Is there any element of independence when it comes to the IEBC?
Can I read something for you?
Please do.
I'm asking you a question, huh?
Yes.
Now, as we are going, this is about 2018. As we are going to the election 2018, I'm giving in the context. Election has been nullified. And they have ordered another election.
Yes.
The Supreme Court has said, in the intervening period between this annulment and the next election, IEBC were to do certain things. And the Supreme Court graciously itemized those things. In that short time, there was NASA was the competitor. NASA had come up with what they call minimum irreducible demands.
Yes.
Those minimum irreducible demands included removing some staff.
Yes.
Who had been mentioned adversely in those things. Chebukati, having read what the Supreme Court said, and having listened to these minimum irreducible demands, and the minimum irreducible demands were communicated by now Musalia Mudavadi, who was a big party in the NASA government.
Yes.
So Chebukati has committed himself and said, we will do all those things. Then Chebukati finds himself unable to do the things he's committed himself to do. And an election is due in about a week's time.
Yes.
So what does he do? Chebukati issues a 6-7 page barua, which he says is written to the Kenyan people just before the election.
Yes.
Now, I'm answering your question, which you asked me.
On the independence
of the
commission.
Yes. So a part of the thing that he says is this. I'm reading from Yukitiwake.
Yeah.
I have made this point on numerous, well, today I want to confirm to you of full technical preparedness for this election. I want to state categorically that I shall not go down in history as the national returning officer that plunged the country into further crisis than I had found it. It is already painful to be on record as the chairman of IEBC that presided over a presidential election that was nullified by the Supreme Court. Paragraph. I have made this point on numerous occasions to my colleagues at the Commission. I have made several attempts to make critical changes, but all my motions have been defeated by a majority of the commissioners. Under such conditions, it is difficult to guarantee free, fair, and credible elections. I am convinced that without critical changes in key secretariat staff, we may not have a free, fair, and credible election. I ask the staff who have been adversely mentioned to step aside and allow the project team to function without interference. And yet, the burden placed on me as the chairman is huge. The expectations of Kenyans have on me are high. Yet, I cannot move forward with a divided commission. I cannot move forward when presidential candidates refuse to put their personal interest aside and for once serve the country. Lastly, one of those is that I would rather bow out with my name inter. No, that's not important. It says, once there is a political agreement as a result of dialogue, when there is a genuine commitment to let the commission work independently, when all commissioners and staff truly commit to serving the country rather than partisan political interest, and when we work together to create a conducive environment for Kenyans to express their sovereign will, it is only then I can truly be confident of having a credible presidential election. Only then I can commit to serve as the national returning officer in order to deliver a free, fair, and credible condition. Okay. Let me and my commission do our job and we shall deliver. Interfere as you have been doing and we get stuck as a country. Anyone who truly loves this country will not want to be destroyed by the selfish ambition of a few. Now, this is the chairman of the commission. And he's basically saying...
And this was after the election.
The first one is gone.
Before the next one happens.
He's going to the second one. Mm-hmm. And he's saying he's stuck. He's saying he goes to the meetings and the majority overrule him.
Yeah.
He has committed that staff should be removed. He can't remove them. And he's saying he can only commit to a free, fair election if he has done those critical changes. The critical changes which he's saying he cannot do because the staff have refused him to do what his work. That is the condition where IEBC was in 2018 as we move to that general election.
Did it get better?
This is the chairman. It could get better. This is the chairman. And this was about a week or two before the election.
Elections, yes.
Now, remember, earlier on in his tenure, a few months earlier before the first election, he had said they were not able to do a credible election. Then he changed his mind. Then he said this. Now, are these the words you asked me? And I'm trying to answer your question. You asked me how autonomous, how independent they were.
Yes.
Are these the words of the chairman of a commission which is independent? Those are not my words. Does that show you?
An independent commission.
This, to me, these are the lamentations of a defeated individual. This is the manifestation of a commission that is not only dysfunctional, that is not only rudderless, but adrift.
Do we say this? Do what we see now? I mean, you will definitely have different individuals now because that was give or take, some 7 years ago. Do we see now that just because individuals would change at the helm of the commission and that you have new commissioners, you have a new chairperson, new individuals across board, would the same lamentations, overt or hidden, still be the same thing?
Have you read the book by Isaka-san? Ahmed Isaka-san wrote a book. He was the previous chairman.
Yes, he came here and discussed it.
Isaka-san, in his book, in different words,
said the same thing.
In his own words, but in deep. And that book is big. You read the book. I was telling somebody it's also a book of grievances. 3/4 of it is a book of complaining. Yeah. But what he's saying in that is a longer extension of what Chebukati is saying in this.
Are we likely to see the political class finally drop their demands and let the commission to work?
When Kenyans, starting with you in the media, I told you earlier, so long as you are pointing your fingers at the wrong places, you will not get the solution done. But when we eventually come to the realization that this is the source of the problem, why is Chebukati talking the way he's talking? He's defeated. And yet we accepted the result of that election and we moved on. Now, do you get the impression that we moved on so far from 2017 that now we are in a different orbit, now we are in a different planet? Or do you get the impression that it's a continuation to the same? Before you answer me, remember that for the last 2 years, we've not had a commission. You don't blame IEBC for not having commissioners.
Indeed.
The same individuals who have recruited these commissioners would have recruited those commissioners 2 years ago.
Indeed. And I think your question also poses as an answer. And there have been many things that we've talked about and that have come out into the fore. These conversations need to happen under the cover of daylight, essentially. Major James Oswago, thank you so much for being here this morning. It's been 2 hours of at least going through some of these things and giving us an answer at the end of it that perhaps we need to look into more. So thank you for being here this morning and thank you for honoring that invitation.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.